Before we understand whether or not parachurch organizations are a good thing, we need to first determine what a parachurch organization is and what the church actually is. A parachurch organization is an organization that comes alongside the church in order to assist the church in its mission. And this is a noble cause. And so this shows us that this would be something that we would like in many respects. But there's also a few cons to the whole idea in the first place. I want to begin with the pros and the cons and then explain how it relates to the church. The pros of a parachurch organization is that it's a group and an organization usually organized around one common cause, usually a very specific and narrow one, and it's usually very mobile and able to accomplish its purposes in a way that a local church might not be able to do so. For example, a pregnancy center or a law firm or a group that does publishing or something like that for Christians would be like a parachurch organization. And obviously, Barabbas Road Church isn't in the business of publishing books or doing legal cases, so on and so forth. So a parachurch organization would be a good thing in the Christian world. The negative of a parachurch organization is that it's not the church. And so understanding this, it's not a negative as long as both the church and the parachurch organization understand their roles. Let me explain. The church itself is who God is concerned with talking about, and we have to understand what that means. The Bible, in Ephesians in particular, describes the church in three different ways. It describes the church as the body of Christ, and it describes the church as the bride of Christ, and it describes the church as the building of Christ. And so with these things here, we have to remember that God's concerned very much with the church. And in each of these descriptions of the church, we're talking often, even though we are talking about the universal church, in every case the example is of a local church. There's another way that the local church is thought of, at least when we talk about it, and that's also as our church as an organization. And this is where parachurch organizations can be very helpful to understand. Barabbas Road Church as an organization, okay, built up of the body, the bride, and the building of Christ, is fundamentally organized to make disciples. The result of that and what disciples do to worship God is something that we know is happening through the church universal. And so parachurch organizations, we hope, might start all the time from our church. We have some folks here at Barabbas Road Church that have started orphanages in South America, that have built houses in Mexico, that are feeding the homeless. And if any of them start an organization to do any of these things, I would commend that in every respect. But the greatest weakness of a parachurch organization comes when folks think that that itself is the function of Christianity. Every parachurch organization exists to assist, to come alongside, and be a part of what the local church is doing. It's the local church that needs to be celebrated. And if parachurch organizations understand that, and if churches themselves understand that, then I think that this would be a phenomenal thing for the body of Christ.